The linear regression for three data points is y equals mx plus b, where m is given by this formula, that's the slope, and b, the y-intercept's y value, is given by this formula. So I notice that they give me 3 points, one, two, three data points. Those 3 points are graphed. And they also graph the linear regression equation. They graph that line for those data points. And they're asking to find the slope and the y-intercept and the equation of that blue line, the best fit line. And then they gave us formulas for finding the slope and y-intercept. Alright, so let's go about finding those values. Well, I notice here that the slope involves the product of the ordered pair's coordinates being added up, the x coordinates being added up, and the y coordinates being added up, and also the square of the x coordinates being added up. So I'm going to make a table. I'm going to put the x coordinates and the y coordinates in two columns. So I have 2, 5, and 7 for the three x coordinates. And I have 9, 6, and 8 for the corresponding y coordinates. And one thing I noticed there is that we have to find the sum of all those. So let's make a row for all the sums. Sum. So the sum of 2, 5, and 7 is 14, while the sum of 9, 6, and 8 is 23. All right. In the next column, I notice that I'm also going to have to multiply the x's and y's together and add all those up. So I'm just going to find the product of x and y in the next column. So the product of x and y is going to be 9 times 2 is 18, 5 times 6 is 30, 7 times 8 is 56. So those are the product of the coordinates of each point. Then I just have to add them all up, and that gives me 104. That gives me 104. And then I notice also that there were x's squared involved. So I'm going to square all the x's and add them up too, and I think that'll be the last thing I need. So these will be the squared x's. So 2 squared is 4, 5 squared is 25, and 7 squared is 49. But then for the sum of all those, I add those all up, and I get 78. So there I have the numbers that I need for this formula. Let me see, the 3 is there, but then when I add up all the product of the x's and y's, I got 104. When I added up all the x's, I got 14. And when I added up all the y's, I got 23. In the denominator, when I added up the x squareds, I got 78. And when I added up the x's, I got 14, but I'm squaring that 14. So the formula becomes that the slope of this line is 3 times 104, 3 times 104, minus 14 times 23. 14 times 23, and that's going to be divided by 3 times 78, 3 times 78, minus 14 squared. Alright, so we get some numbers there. 3 times 104 is 312. 14 times 23 is 322. 3 times 78 is 234. And 14 squared is 196. On top, I get negative 10, while on the bottom, I get 38. So there I have the slope. The slope of my line is negative 10 over 38, which is actually negative 5 over 19. So the slope is negative 5 over 19. That's the first part they asked me for, negative 5 over 19. So then I can go on with the second part of all this, and the second part is to find the y-intercept. Well, a lot of the things are the same. Like I noticed in the denominator, it's the exact same to denominator. 3 times 78 times 14 squared, so that's not going to change. That was equal to 38, just like it was in the numerator. Or sorry, in M. M's denominator was the exact same thing, so this is going to turn out to also be 38 after I do all the calculations. The top, however, well, the top is a different set of calculations. For instance, the sum of all the x's squared was 78, while the sum of all the y's was 23, and the sum of all the x's was 14, and the sum of the product of the coordinates, the x's and the y's, was 104. So we get this here, and we can do the product 78 times 23, which is 1,794, minus the other product, 14 times 104, is 1,456. So that's what I get when I do those products in the top. And when I do that subtraction, I get 338. So that 338 over 38 is the y-intercept's y value. So let me see. I can reduce that by dividing the top by 2 to get 169, and dividing the bottom by 2 to get 19. So that now I found the y-intercept of the best fit line to be 169 over 19. And now I'm ready for the equation of the best fit line. In slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, the equation of the best fit line would be y equals negative 5 over 19x plus 169 over 19. And there it is. That is the best fit line.